Black Friday is here, and we all know that that means it's time for irresponsible spending, piles of debt, and weeks or months of buyer's remorse. Or you could be really careful and only buy surefire winners this Black Friday. Let me help you with that with a list of my favourite audio products based on my reviews over the last 12 months. In the name of keeping this video as short as possible, we're going to move pretty fast, and I'll try not to ramble on about the products that I recommend, and instead I'll put links to the full reviews of each video down below in the description along with some purchasing links. The final thing to mention before we dive into this is that I haven't communicated with any of these brands about this video, and that means that some of the products that I'm going to recommend might not be on Black Friday sales. And that's especially true if I mention anything from a brand like Schiit Audio that don't do sales, and I will, but I still thought it was important to include these brands because sometimes it's better to buy a product that's fantastic and not on special than to go and buy a lesser product just because it's on a discount. And so, let's go. Starting with accessories because the alphabet, and the first accessory that I've got here are the Burson V7 op amps. Both the Vivid and the Classic versions are brilliant and a great way to upgrade your existing equipment or some equipment that you're going to be buying, assuming that it's got swappable op amps and assuming that you can fit these relatively tall beasties inside the chassis of the product you're looking at. Now, if it sounded like I just switched to a different language for a few moments, then check out the video linked down below where I explain all about what these are, what they do, and how you might use them. And moving on, we're not going to talk about this amp, but the tubes within it, which are the Ray Tubes 6SN7 reserve tubes. I knew these things were brilliant when I tried them and reviewed them in the xDuoo TA26, but I recently bought myself this match pair here to try in the Linear Tube Audio MZ3 amp that I'm holding. The addition of these tubes to this amplifier immediately vaulted the MZ3 to becoming my favourite amplifier in my collection, and that's beyond some much more expensive amplifiers. And so all I can say is that the 6SN7 reserve tubes and the upcoming KT88 reserve tubes that I'm going to be reviewing very soon are absolutely nuts. If you're into tubes, check out the range. The final accessory to talk about is from an upcoming review, so there's no link in the description as yet to that review, but the product in question is the World's Best Cable or WBC Pro Quad XLR range. These shocked the shit out of me recently when I compare them to a way more expensive interconnect, and so the first thing to say is be sure to subscribe if you want to know which interconnect these upset or almost upset. That cost way more money, but even without you having a chance to see the review, I'm very comfortable recommending these right now because nobody is going to be upset with these, especially at their price of $35 US for a 6-foot pair. All-in-ones are up next, and these are the products that combine the DAC and the headphone amp and preamp all into a single box. Often they're compromised, but in the case of the SMSL Raw MDA1, this unit went up against a similarly priced separate stack of DAC and preamp / headphone amp, and the Raw MDA1 came out smiling. And you will too. The other product to get a mention here is the xDuoo XD05 Pro. This is not the best portable all-in-one on the market, and it's also big and heavy, so it's not even particularly portable, but the reason that it made this list is that it is just so much fun and so versatile. You can swap the DAC card in this, you can swap the op amps in this, you can power it with an external power supply or the onboard battery, and you can drive everything with it, from IEMs through to Modhouse tungstens, I think. Don't hold me to the tungstens comment until you check out the review and make sure I'm not fibbing there. DACs are up next, and Geshelli Labs get a double bite of the cherry here. That's not because they're lovely people, even though they are, it's because they produced two of the most exceptional DACs on the market recently that are also incredibly well priced. First up is their premium Dayzee DAC, which is totally nuts in all the best ways, including its price. It's also a little bit tricky though in terms of availability if you're outside the USA and Canada, so don't get your hopes up on that one if you live anywhere else. Instead, you might want to turn your attentions to the slightly less amazing, but much cheaper and still awesome J3 DAC. This is available more globally, and it performs way above its price point with the right upgrades of op amps like I spoke about before. This is going to destroy other DACs at the same price, and many DACs worth a whole lot more. And speaking about DACs worth a lot more, the Linear Tube Audio Aero DAC rounds out this list. This is an absolutely magnificent sounding DAC that combines an R2R decoding chip and also a tube output stage. Together, that produces one of the most tonally pleasing and all-around enjoyable DACs that I've heard at any price. It's not a crazy expensive DAC either, it's just more expensive than the Geshelli ones. Moving on to headphone amps, and we're kicking it off with the Apos Audio Gremlin amp. This little amp is just $120 US. It offers a fully balanced design, actually an only balanced design, as well as coming with a pair of matched tubes in the form of the Ray Tubes 12AU7 core. So you're starting off with great tubes and you can then upgrade it to your heart's content. From there we move to a surprise entry by HiFiMan, who snuck into the headphone amp list and not the headphone list. The amp in question is the Prelude. It's a wonderfully designed and built and of course wonderfully sounding headphone amp and preamp. It's gorgeous to look at, gorgeous to interact with, and it sounds wonderful too. Speaking of gorgeous designs that are also wonderful to listen to, we've got another entry here from Linear Tube Audio in the form of their Velo headphone amp. The Velo amp has been designed with an obvious sense of care and passion that shows itself not just in the sound quality of the amplifier, but also every interaction you have with it. The beautiful and sophisticated light ring to show your volume adjustments, and the fact that it remembers your chosen volume levels across all three inputs, and whether you're using the preamp or the headphone output, which volume you need. Those are just 2 reasons, or maybe you could call it 7 reasons, why the Velo is such a wonderful amplifier. But there are plenty more, and I haven't even mentioned its sound, which is glorious. Schiit Audio also make an appearance here with their Mjolnir 3 headphone amp, and in fact, the HiFiMan Prelude headphone amp wouldn't have been in this list if not for the fact that the Mjolnir 3 is not as easily available to everybody around the globe. And so the Prelude is the option if you can't get the Mjolnir 3, but for me, the Mjolnir 3 is the amplifier I would choose out of the 2. And then finally, the xDuoo TA66 rounds out this list. The TA66 comes in cheaper than the similar TA26, also from xDuoo, and yet it's got a fancier and nicer design, coupled with, in my opinion, an even better sound. It's just a flat-out winner at the price. Now you might be wondering why Burson Audio didn't make this list with their Voyager headphone amp and preamp. And so I'm adding it as a special mention because you're right to wonder about it. The reason it wasn't a main award winner in this category is purely because of its price. I tried to keep these lists somewhat affordable, but if affordable isn't your thing, check out the Burson Audio Voyager. The headphone category would have begun with the Audio-Technica X Apos ATH-R70X Refine headphone, but I think they might be sold out, and they're only available in the USA and Canada once again. If you want to be 100% certain, I've still put a link down below. You can go check those out. They are absolutely brilliant, but they might be all gone now. Instead, we're actually going to kick things off with the Meze Audio 105s. This is the brand new $399 headphone from Meze Audio, and it's so close to the $799 109 Pros that many people will choose these over the 109s. I should also mention that the Verum Audio Verum 2s would have been in this list, but they've just been pipped by the 105s. A weird winner is next in the form of the Sony MDR-Z1R, and they're a bit of a weird winner because they've been around forever. They also have a somewhat mixed reputation, but I only reviewed them recently and I immediately fell in love. I actually just received my own pair that I purchased after I sent back the loaner pair. On a side note, I noticed recently that depending on which Sony website I looked at, which country it was, the MDR-Z1R was inconsistently listed. And so I don't know what's going on with them. I don't know if maybe they're not going to be available for very much longer. And so grab a pair now while you definitely can, because they might be due for retirement. A headphone that's far newer than the MDR-Z1R and almost as good is the ZMF Bokeh. It's also a bit cheaper. I've tried the closed version of the Bokeh and a demo prototype of the open version of the Bokeh, and both are fantastic. I can definitely recommend the closed version for anybody looking for a 100% enjoyable closed back headphone. And my early impressions would suggest that the open version is going to be just as good, maybe even better, but I haven't reviewed those yet, so we're just going on first impressions. Let's open the IEM category with a special mention of the Dita Project M IEMs. These amaze me with their combination of build and performance at their price, and they receive a special mention here because they were only bested by another IEM that came along during the year in the form of the Elysian Acoustics Pilgrim IEM. That's entirely subjective though, because many of you will enjoy probably the more technical style tuning of the Project M. It's just that for me, I prefer the slightly more full-bodied sound that the Pilgrim delivers. And so the Pilgrim is my personal choice, the Project M might be yours, or if you've got a bit more money to spend, you might also want to look at the slightly modified and updated version, or upgraded version I should say, of the Pilgrim in the Pilgrim Noir. The Pilgrim Noir was built in a collaboration between Elysian Acoustics and Effect Audio. Without going into too much depth, I'll just say that the Noir is more than just a new paint job and a new cable on the Pilgrim. And so check out the full review linked in the description, which goes through the similarities and differences of both Pilgrim versions. The final IEM to get a mention here are the incredibly capable Westone Mach 80 IEMs. And I should probably mention the Westone Mach 70s as well, because I loved those and they would have been the winner until I tried the Mach 80s. The Mach series IEMs are insanely comfortable, and the Mach 80s are an incredibly honest IEM without ever getting mean about it. They're enjoyable to listen to, whilst also being technically revealing and astounding. The final category now is streamers, and it's a category that I'm not as well versed in as some of the other categories I've talked about here. However, some products still stood out. Alphabetically speaking, the first is the EverSolo DMP-A8, which brought everything you would want in a single high-performance audio box. It's a streamer, DAC, and preamp that can also house storage to become a music server, and it will run a whole range of different streaming and music apps for you. The lower priced DMP-A6 was a really nice product, but the quality of the DAC included in the DMP-A8 made it the one that I would personally choose. At the upper end of town, the Lumin U2 Mini and the U2 offer premium streaming only capabilities. So there's no onboard DAC capabilities here, they are just a streaming transport to deliver the sound to your external high quality DAC. And when they do that, the sound quality they can deliver is phenomenal. Check out the review for a full rundown of the differences between the U2 Mini and the U2, because for some of you, the U2 Mini is all you'll need. For others, the U2 full size is going to be a better unit. And finally, last, but a long way from least, are the various streaming options from WiiM. I haven't yet tried the WiiM Ultra, so I can't technically include that here, but WiiM's track record is excellent when it comes to producing not just affordable and well-performing streaming devices, but also a fantastic app and therefore interface that's also been upgraded with new features as time's gone by, and there could still be new features to come, who knows. Even if there aren't new features to come, what the WiiM Pro and WiiM Amp in particular offer is absolutely brilliant, and the WiiM Pro Plus can be handy if you want a better onboard DAC to output to your amplifier or your active speakers, for instance, although I do believe that using an external DAC is generally a better choice, hence why I recommend the WiiM Pro over the Pro Plus. Now, if you're wondering why I'm excluding the WiiM Mini from the list, there's a very good reason for that. Watch the video down below for a full explanation. And that's it, my list of the products of the year in preparation for your Black Friday. As always, don't feel the need to spend money and buy things just because everybody else is. If you're enjoying your system already, then close the browser, put down your phone, switch on some tunes, and enjoy your music instead of burning your cash or piling up debt. However, if you've been saving up for your next big upgrade or your next exciting purchase, then happy hunting, and I hope you score a great deal on some fantastic sound. Now, if this video hasn't satisfied your need for recommendations, then check out this video next with my top recommended products for $250 or less. And of course, be sure to subscribe because I've got more videos like this coming in preparation for the holiday season. For now, a huge thanks as always to YouTube channel members, to channel Patreon members, and to those of you that leave super thanks on YouTube videos just like this one. And until next time, happy listening, happy Black Friday shopping, and I'll see you here again soon on Passion for Sound.